stay tuned because for the next 60 minutes, Motorsports Unlimited is on the air. Hi, I'm Jerry Bryant, and these are the lovely ladies of Motorsports. And all this hour, we're going to have 60 minutes of action-packed excitement. All kinds of exciting things will happen. And we got the famous Bill Wilt, and we got all kinds of other good stuff that's happening all this hour. Motorsports Unlimited, 60 minutes of non-stop action. So let's go to the studio right now, huh?
Thanks, Jerry, and hi, everybody. Welcome to the studio headquarters of Chicagoland's most watched, most talked about Access Television series. I'm Tim Murtaugh, and this is the 489th edition of Motorsports Unlimited. Well, summer is in full swing now, and everyone knows attending summer car shows is a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. So that's just what we're going to do. Today, we're taking you to Woodridge, Illinois for their Buckle Up or Else car show. It seems the police in Woodridge felt that a car show would be a perfect way to call the public's attention to the value of wearing seatbelts. But rather than me trying to explain, let's join Bill and the girls as they learn about Buckle Up or Else.
The sign on the gorilla says Buckle Up or Else, and we're going to find out more about that program during the course of today's show. But first I want to introduce the principals that we have involved with the program that we're putting on today, and you are?
Steve Russo, director of the Chicagoland Chapter GS Club.
Where are you from, Steve?
From Orland Park.
Okay, now you don't have anything to do with the Buckle Up program.
No, we're just here to help out.
Okay, I'm going to get back to you. Don't go away, and you are?
Steve Herron, Sergeant with the Woodridge Police Department.
Okay, I bet you do have something to do with the Buckle Up program.
Well, a little bit, but I'm not the guy who thought it up. I'm just the guy who helps the guy who thought it up.
Okay, which means that he must outrank you.
No, not really. Just in thought and his ability, he outranks me.
He thinks so.
Well, I think so too.
Okay, and you are?
I'm Frank Jackowiak. I'm an officer with the Woodridge Police Department.
And you have a lot to do with the Buckle Up or Else program.
I take the blame for everything.
Okay, I'm coming right back to you, and you are?
I'm Tom Bondi, also with the Woodridge Police Department, and I'm pretty much here just to help out Frank.
So he's the guy I got to talk to?
That's the guy.
Okay, I'm coming back, Frank. Go ahead and tell the folks, and we should tell the folks we're right on the main street here, and for some reason, cars always beep at me. Please, go ahead and tell us about the program.
3 years ago, I got assigned to community policing, and we were looking for a way to promote our Buckle Up program. The state, in various times of the year, wants to promote people to wear their seatbelts, naturally, to help save lives. So we were looking for an innovative way to do it, and I'm kind of an old gearhead, and I'm into cars, so I thought a car show would be a great thing to do. We could attract people. We put up the gorilla as a thought to really attract attention, and that's why it's on the main road. Hopefully somebody will drive by, see the gorilla wearing the Buckle Up or Else banner and think, yeah, I should be wearing my seatbelt. So, the way we figured at the police department, if one person does that, really, then we've done our job, if it helps to save their life.
Well, that's probably true, and I'll give you my little pitch right now. Folks, as a person that has driven race cars literally his entire life, we can't even imagine doing it without a seatbelt, because those of us that are involved in that kind of activity have seen the results of when you don't wear a seatbelt. The body has a certain amount of mass. When the vehicle is going in one direction at so many miles an hour and the vehicle stops, the mass of the human body continues going forward until stopped, usually by a windshield.
That's correct, and a couple of the cars here are evidence of that. And that's one of the reasons we put them here, is just to to remind people and let them see what the wreck looks like up close. So many times people just see a picture in a newspaper or on TV, and they don't really get a close-up look at it. This gives an opportunity really to take a look and say, wow, it's really a bad wreck.
I'll tell you what, Chuck, if you would, take the camera shot over here, please. Just hold it down there for a moment. I'll tell you a little story. My parents, many years ago, and I'm talking back in the early 50s, had a motel and a restaurant on the main route through New York State, Route 20. This was before the interstate highway system came around. And obviously they had lots of accidents and lots of fatal accidents. And they always thought it would be a great idea if wherever the accident occurred, a car that was totaled, park it on the side of the road with a sign on it, the injuries. They always thought that would be a great idea to remind people to be careful.
Yeah, it would be a great idea. Unfortunately, probably our highways would be, littered with vehicles because the statistics are pretty high. But, fortunately, seatbelt use is going up, and one of the things that attributes to that is public education, student driver programs that really push, seatbelt use. My 16-year-old son, when we got in the car and we were teaching him how to drive, and I was getting ready to put my seatbelt on, but even before I thought about it, he says, make sure you put your seatbelt on.
It really is. It's a terrific habit, and that's what you've got to do. It'll be a chore for a while, but once it becomes a habit, you'll feel naked without it. Trust me.
Well,
now, yes.
I heard a story that some of the parents, they will give each child a nickel each time they get into the car if they remember to buckle up their seatbelt.
bribing them.
Something, yeah, exactly. But if it works.
Anything, and Peggy knows because Peggy's got 3 kids, and anything that gets people to get into the habit of snapping the seatbelt on. Now, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the program. And Chuck, if you would, once again, pull the camera shot back so the audience can see this huge gorilla. Maybe this will be a nice reminder back there. But our purpose being here today is, of course, cover the car show. And we've got a fellow here that apparently is involved with the car show portion of it.
Yes, I am.
Tell us what you're doing.
Well, we're trying to help get everything set up, and then when everybody gets here, we're parking the cars. We have the Chicagoland chapter Buick Club is going to be here today, so hopefully we'll have a good turnout with that. And there'll be a bunch of Buicks here, which is usually you don't see at the normal car shows.
You're exactly right. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll have TV Tommy Ivo's twin-engine rail or 4-engine rail. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Those are all Buicks.
Yeah, I know. We usually don't see that car out. So.
No, you really don't. It takes me back many years. Now, I already talked to Frank. I think you said that you've got a car.
Yes, I have a car. Actually, I have several cars. I have one here. It's an 84 Regal. It was a turbo car, and now it's got a 72 455 big block, old Buick motor, and it's actually painted in the paint scheme of a 70 Skylark GSX, which was a big block Buick car back in the 70s. So it's kind of a retro thing.
Why Buicks?
My first car was a 63 Buick, so I'm just like one of those sentimental old guys, and even after that car didn't run, I rented a garage space for it because I couldn't bear to part with it. So.
Well, I can tell you, I have a little affection for Buicks. My first stock car had a 322 nailhead Buick V8 in it. Let me ask you the same question. Why Buicks?
That was my dad kind of got me hooked into it, and that was my first car, and I've had about 12 of them. So I've got 3 of them right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to focus a little bit on Buicks today. And again, Chuck, if you pull that camera shot back, I want the audience to be reminded of the gorilla and what it stands for. And it's time for us to go and see the car show.
A car show featuring Buicks is long overdue, so we immediately went to the Buick area. Let's join Crystal as she inquires about Officer Jackowiak's Buick Big Block Buick.
Well, I certainly don't know a lot about Buicks here, but this car is really a showstopper. I mean, it is just gorgeous. And again, like Bill always says, you cannot truly appreciate the colors of these cars unless you're actually at the show. So let's stop here for a minute and find out who the owner is. What's your name, sir, again?
My name's Frank Jackowiak.
And where are you from?
I live in Darien.
You live in Darien, but he's also a police officer from the Woodridge Police Department. Okay, tell us a little bit about your car.
It's yellow.
Besides being, and not only yellow, a gorgeous yellow, tell us a little bit about it.
It started out as an 84 Regal that was destined for the junkyard. It had a bad engine in it. So I took the turbo motor out, and it's got a big block Buick 455. And the paint scheme comes from, in the 70s, Buick had a GSX that they painted with the yellow and black paint scheme that had a big block motor in it. So it's kind of a retro thing.
Okay, and how long, when did you buy the car, really?
I've had the car for about 2 years.
And how long did it take you to redo all of this to make it the gorgeous piece of art it is today?
Till about 3:30 this morning.
And that's honesty, Bill, so come on over here and ask any other questions.
Okay, the thing that makes this car really unusual, girls, I'm going to step up and show the audience, we started the camera shot on it, is that over there he's got 455 on the grill. And that's not just a piece of ornamentation. As a matter of fact, he has a 455 cubic inch V8 engine, and this, what I think most people would expect to be a turbo V6.
Correct.
Okay, did you drive it with the turbo V6?
No, when I got it, the engine was bad.
Okay, because my question is, how does it compare? 2 different kinds of ways of making horsepower. Everybody knows that the Grand Nationals are fast with their turbo V6 by puffing a lot of air pressure into them. This one's got to be fast because the motor is just flat big, and I was wondering how you could contrast the difference in driving.
It's ready to go as soon as you hit the gas. There's a little bit of lag with the turbos and they kind of catch up, but the big Buick motors have just tons of torque, and you probably know the old saying, no substitute for cubic inches.
There sure isn't, and 455 of them will do it. Great car, and as you can see, Chuck, if you pull your camera shot back just a little, we're sort of in Buick heaven here. We've got Buick, 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 and we've even got a Cobra over there we're going to take a look at that has a turbo V6 in it.
Turbo motor in it. It's kind of unusual. I've never seen one before. I think it's the only one that exists.
What?
Yeah.
What's the standard for that one then?
Well, there's no standard. Those are kit cars, but all the time, most of the time you'll see small block Chevys in it. Occasionally a Purist will have a Ford in it, but to have a turbo V6, that's an interesting drivetrain choice, I think.
Real interesting, and I'm not sure on the times, but he did have it at the Grand Sport Nationals in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and ran it on the racetrack, so he'd probably be able to give you more specifics, but it's pretty quick and really neat looking. So.
Yeah, it really is. And folks, I think that's where we're going to go next.
Great idea, Bill. The Cobra was catching everyone's eye. Let's join Peggy as she learns about this technically interesting variation of a Cobra replica.
That this is a very unusual Cobra replica, and we're going to find out why in just a minute. But first, we're going to get these gentlemen's names, find out where they're from. Hi, sir. What's your name?
Justin Spina.
And where are you from?
Vernon Hills.
Hey, what's your name?
John Spina.
And where are you from?
Vernon Hills, Illinois.
I know. Who is the owner of the car?
I am.
Okay. Could you tell me about the car?
Sure. It's a replica of a 1967 Shelby 427 Cobra. What makes it unique is that it's powered by a Buick Grand National engine driveline.
Okay, now to me that's not very unusual. What did you have in there originally?
Well, there was nothing originally. The frame is custom built for the body, and the car itself can handle just about any engine you can possibly imagine. Back when they made them back in '67, they were powered by 427 Ford engines.
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask you, do you drive this to the car shows, or do you trailer it at all, or how do you get here?
We drive it. Okay. We've been driving it every day since it was built.
Oh, now is this your first time at the car show in Woodridge?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what is your role with this car?
I helped build it with him.
Now, how long did it take you to put it together?
Under a year.
Was it pretty easy, or was there a little thing you look at and you put the kit together piece by piece? I mean, I can't even imagine myself doing it, or let alone somebody.
It was piece by piece, but we figured most of the stuff out by ourselves.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to get Bill in and ask some more questions. To me, that's amazing to me that you could just put this together piece by piece.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's amazing about it. Go ahead and step back here. Okay, again, the girls explaining it to the girls gives me an excellent opportunity to explain it to the audience. It was really who we're trying to talk to is the general public as to why something like this is so special. Chuck, if you would, take a picture of the car. This is a replica of a Cobra, one of the most famous of all American sports cars. It happened when Carroll Shelby made a deal with the folks in England. There was a car called an AC Bristol, and Bristol was for the engine and AC was for the body and chassis, and the Bristol engine company went out of business, so they had a bunch of sharp-looking two-seater sports cars and no engines for them, and Carroll Shelby brought them over to this country and they stuffed Fords in. They started with 289 Fords. Probably the most famous, though, of all of the Mustangs, all of the Cobras was the 427 Cobra. And you can spot the 427 Cobras because it had these bulging fender lines, and also in the back, Chuck, if you can show that to the audience. That was the signature of the 427 Cobra. So all of the replica bodies, or at least all that I'm familiar with, are all based on the 427 Cobra. Most of the time when people build these, they put small block Chevys in them, because we've talked about this on a program before. The small block Chevy makes a lot of sense. Lots of horsepower, economical, parts for them everywhere and all that. Occasionally you'll find purists that object to the notion of a Chevy engine being in a Cobra because it was originally a Ford, and they'll put a Ford engine in it, and some people get real particular, and they'll try to find an old 427 side oiler. Very expensive, very hard to find, but for the purist it works. I have not ever seen one of these, though, built with the turbo V6 Buick motor, the Grand National motor. What made you think of it? I think it's a great idea.
I wanted something to go fast.
Yeah, but there's lots of choices for that. Why this particular choice?
I was very familiar with the engine, and that particular engine is out of an '87 Grand National, which was that year the fastest U.S. production car made. And so I thought I'd marry the fastest U.S. production car engine to the fastest all-time production car, and made a real nice combination. It's 250 pounds lighter than the 427. It's actually faster, and I get 27 miles to the gallon with it.
Well, I think it's an excellent choice and very, very original, yes.
I think I was just confused. I wasn't sure if it came with one or you just pick one.
Right, these cars, let me see if I can explain this. Again, Chuck, show the audience the car. This is a classic American sports car. When I say American sports car, yes, it's a sports car because it's a two-seater car, and the chassis and body were originally created in England, so it's a sports car, but I put the emphasis on the word American. If it's going to be an American sports car, it has to have wheel-smoking torque and power. The Europeans didn't do it that way. They never had that kind of power in them. So when these cars were brought over and built as Cobras, originally as Cobras, they had big, strong American V8s in them. This is an interesting combination using that turbo V6, and I like what you said, it's 215 pounds lighter?
About 250 pounds lighter in the front. The weight distribution on this car is 56% rear, 44% front. Now, the original 427 Cobras, the very best they got out of them was 52% rear and 48% front. So the weight distribution with this particular engine makes it an ideal road car. It gives it better balance and almost rear engine territory.
Well, I'll tell you something. I like the idea of lightening the front ends of these things, of these front engine cars. I really like that a lot. Plus the fact you have all the same power. Now, this is your son, I understand?
Yeah.
Did you help him build the car?
Yeah.
How old are you?
17.
Okay, was it like a college education?
I guess.
Right, this is the kind of thing we'd love to see youngsters doing, and I don't see nearly enough of the 17-year-olds. Actually, how'd you get them to get off of the video games?
Well, I needed 2 extra hands, and he was there to offer, so the rest is history, I guess.
Okay, Crystal, you had a question?
Yeah, I think maybe you need to explain to Peggy, kit car. John calls it a car in a box, but basically, I think that's why maybe people don't understand that that's not how it came.
Yeah, let me see if I can try this again one more time. These cars, Chuck, show it to the audience one more time. These cars, this look, so captured the public's attention that long after these things were built, I don't think they've been built they've been made in over 20 years, but kit car manufacturers created bodies that were, this I'm sure is fiberglass, right?
Yes, it is.
Right, the original cars were all aluminum bodies. This is a fiberglass replica, so what you do is you get a fiberglass replica body, you buy a frame kit for it, then buy whatever kind of choice, engine and train. You literally build this from the ground up. It didn't come with anything. It's your choice all the way along.
Like John says, out of a box.
That's amazing.
Pieces that you have to put together to make it look like that. It's not off of a Detroit production line or something.
Now, is it hard to acquire the pieces that you need for this, since it is a kit? But it does come together.
No, you buy the body, you buy the frame kits. They have interior kits and all that. Folks, what do you think? Am I getting anywhere?
It took me a while, but I understand. Now let's join Karen as she checks out one of her favorite cars.
That I'm partial to Grand Nationals, I jumped at the opportunity to interview this owner. We've got a beautiful day, a beautiful car owner, and you are?
Bob Nunes.
And you're from?
Franklin Park, Illinois.
Okay, Bob, now, this is an 87 Grand National. How long have you had it?
Bought it brand new in 87.
Now, have you made any modifications to the car since then?
Yeah, my son and I got involved in Buicks. He started me off in it with the Grand Sports, and then with the Grand National, we've been doing quite a bit of work in changing the exhaust system. We changed the fuel system to a Bosch system, and the ram air system is new. And just took it out of storage a month ago and redid the injectors with blue tip and then changed the chip. So we haven't had a chance to have it out to see what it would really do yet, but we're still tweaking underneath the hood and getting everything set.
Now, do you plan to take it out to a track and run it?
Yeah, we hope to take it out probably in the next couple weekends. It should be ready to start testing. And he's a mechanic, and he has all the knowledge of the computer systems. He has the inboard computer, so as we run it down the track, he can do a lot of tests on it and see if everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
A lot like race cars. Well, you can race them, but a lot like race cars in that if the computer system goes down, it causes a lot of problems.
Sure does. And if you don't have you almost have, with these cars, you have to have quite a bit of computer technical knowledge with them. That's where he comes in. I'm the hands guy, the wrench guy, and I do a lot of the labor, and he does a lot of the thinking. So it works out real well.
And who gets to drive it?
Everybody but Mom. Mom won't drive the car. She's afraid of it, but everybody gets to drive it.
Little too fast for her?
A little too fast.
Okay, well, Bill, why don't you come on in here?
Karen is our Grand National expert because she had a Grand National, correct?
That's correct.
And she will never live down the fact that at the Joliet car show, she spotted one she thought was a Grand National, did a whole piece by herself, and later it turns out it's a T-type.
That's correct.
And you're never going to live it down, right?
That's right.
Right. So even the experts can make a mistake. And you did a great job with the thing. What is, eventually, what would you like to do with the car?
Well, my son would like to get the car down into the 11s if we can and still be street drivable. That's the unique thing about these cars is that you can get the high performance out of them and you can still cruise on the highway or go grocery shopping. They call them grocery getters in a lot of cases because they're so easy drivable and still have the power.
I must say I agree with you, although I'm not familiar with the Grand National. I really haven't driven one of these. I did have the opportunity to drive a Turbo Carrera Porsche, and the first thing that I noticed about the car was that there was nothing to notice. The car was unremarkable to drive. We were in traffic, and it was kind of like, I hate to say it, it was a $100,000 car. It's a little bit like driving a Volkswagen. But boy, when you stuck your foot in that thing and the tack needle swung past 3,500 RPM, you would swear it was an F-15 fighter.
Right. When they first came out, and especially when they changed over to the intercooled, in the beginning they weren't intercooled, and then they switched them over in 86, 87. A lot of the Fords and a lot of the Corvettes were very surprised to see a car this size. When they were reading the taillights, they were really amazed. A lot of guys used to say they were willing to bet me money that it wasn't a V6 when they were relatively new. They didn't believe that was a 6-cylinder.
Exactly, you're exactly correct. That really happened a lot. And the one thing I want to point out to the audience, and thanks for spending a little time with us, don't run away. The one thing I want to point out to the audience is that Buick always has kind of done things their own way. Years ago when they were developing the overhead valve V8 engine, and Oldsmobile had a version, and Cadillac had a version, and Ford did, and Chevy did. Buick, when they came along, they did the famous nailhead V8, which had very small valves, which is peculiar because for real horsepower, everybody assumed you had to have big valves, and Buick had a whole different theory. Buick wanted perfectly designed ports, very streamlined ports, and to do that, they had to give away a little bit in valve size, and the engines worked very, very well. Again, Buick was kind of going their own way with it. Same thing with the high-performance cars. Instead of just putting a bigger and bigger V8 in a car, Buick had a different approach. V6, turbocharged, tons of power, very drivable. Interesting combination with lots of followers, lots of devotees. And Crystal, I didn't want to leave you out of this, so if you would, please tell the folks.
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Bill wanted to spend a little more time explaining the intercooler, so while he went to find just the right example, we took a moment to introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Crystal Kuchan.
I'm Peggy O'Donnell.
And I'm Karen Cady.
Thank you, girls. And by the way, I'm Irvetta McMurtry. Now let's get back to the cars with a fine example of an intercooled turbo Buick.
Well, today here on Motorsports Unlimited, this seems to be Buick Day, but today we have something even more important. Besides being a gorgeous car, we have a woman car enthusiast here that owns this car here, and I'm really pleased to do this interview because I think motorsports is for women as well as men. So why don't you tell the audience what your name is?
Hi, my name's Pamela Peters. I'm from Streamwood, Illinois, and this is my little daughter, Candace, who also has the Buick infection. Really bad.
Well, that's really great. Can you tell us a little bit about this car?
Okay, this car I purchased in 1990, saw it in a parking lot in Barrington, and that was it, instant love, but I had also been a Buick fan since I was like 17. My first car was a Buick GS, Candy Apple Red, and I had to have this one too. So, and the turbo thing, that's another thing. I mean, there's nothing sweeter than this engine. The performance, the power, and it's an awesome machine.
Okay, now did you buy this car as is, or did you do anything to it?
There's plenty of performance goodies under the hood there, boy. I'm major cash flow here. It's overboard, actually. Oh. I love it. Can't get enough. Don't know when to stop.
Okay, well, Bill, you need to come in here because when she's talking about all the things under the hood, that is your specialty.
Well, you're right. That is what I'm on the program for. That's for sure. And for a while, I thought it was my pretty face, but it's not. I came over here to do one more Buick, one more turbocharged Buick, obviously because we've got a woman that owns the car and is very enthusiastic, and a daughter. I want you to tell us about the intercooler. Yeah, see, I know your mother knows it, so I didn't want to do it because she would have said it. I was trying to put you on the spot. That's all I wanted was a smile, okay? Intercooler, talk to me about it a little bit.
Well, the most fantastic thing about the 87 Buick T-Type and Grand Nationals was the intercooler. And that helps cool down the engine a little bit more for our performance and get that boost level up where it should be in the turbo.
Karen, does that sound right to you?
I got a modified one.
Sounds exactly right to me.
I got a modified one in there, so it's even larger core, so you get more flow into it.
Okay. I want the audience to understand this because intercoolers are really quite important. They don't necessarily cool the engine down, though. What they cool is the charge going into the engine. The problem when you compress a gas, which clearly is what a supercharger does, it's just a big compressor. When you compress a gas, and I don't mean the gas in it, I mean the air as a gas. Of course, it's got atomized fuel droplets in it. But when you compress it, it gets hot. And as it gets hot, it wants to expand, and what you want to do somehow is to take some of that temperature out so you can pack in a greater charge. So what they do is they put a radiator between the turbocharger and the intake port of the engine. They put an intercooler in there, which is really just a radiator, and what they're trying to do is cool off that incoming charge to make a denser charge, though still under pressure. this can be so important. The Formula One cars from the turbocharged era, when they were getting upwards of 1,500 horsepower out of 90 cubic inches, had turbochargers, had intercoolers the size of refrigerators laying on their sides on each side of the car. Were you familiar with all that?
Yeah, that's way back there.
Yeah, it is interesting the amount of power something as simple as putting a radiator between the turbocharger or supercharger and the engine itself. It's remarkable how the increased density of that charge can add horsepower to it. Now, was that your understanding of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
You did a better job of it.
No, and I wasn't meaning to put you on the spot. Although I do like to tease the girls if I get a chance. Yes, Peggy.
Well, that was well said, but I have a question. Did you ever race the car?
Oh yeah, I go down to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and follow the Buick crowd there, and I made the newspaper on the front page the first year I went down there as one of the women racers there with Buick heart in her body here. I mean, I just love to race. Drag racing's awesome.
What did you turn?
It's in the mid-12s.
You're in the 12s?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's a pretty nice ride. Yes, Crystal.
I just wanted to know, so do any other cars have this intercooler system?
Intercoolers, there's no question about it, but it's expensive. This is an expensive thing to do. So cars that aren't puffed up as much, cars that don't have as much boost pressure, won't run the intercoolers because it's an expensive item. But the more pressure that you pump into the motor, the hotter that charge gets, and the more you want to cool it down to make it denser, and it does make a significant difference. There's no question about it. Now, I think it's remarkable that, now, how long have you been an automotive enthusiast?
Since I was probably about 16 years old. I took an auto shop in high school, and it's been hooked ever since.
And you've always enjoyed it?
Yep, was always my father's tomboy, always out there wrenching alongside him, so it just hit me.
Okay, now can I put your daughter to work for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, come right out with me. I want the audience to have one more look at this great car, and I want to put her to work. Nothing to be afraid of. This is going to be fun, okay? I want you to look at our camera over there, and I'd like you to say...
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
We could have stayed with the Buicks all day, but Bill said there were so many great cars at the Woodridge Buckle Up or Else car show that we really should look in other areas too.
Bill says we've got to do other cars besides Buicks, and we found a beautiful antique Ford, and we're going to find out about it. Hi, sir. What is your name?
Roy Heron,
And where are you from?
Yorkville, Illinois.
And what's your name?
Rich Heron from Yorkville also.
Who's the owner of the car?
Roy's the owner. But he is the spokesman.
Okay. All right. Can you tell me about the car?
The car's a 1934 Ford 5-window coupe. It was bought in pieces, and it's been completely restored back to the way Henry Ford built it in 1934. Everything matches the serial number and identification number, color, interior colors, and everything else.
Did you do the work yourself?
All the work was done by Roy.
Oh, incredible. How long did it take you to do that?
About 4 years.
That's incredible. Now, I see you've got a rumble seat back here. Has it ever been rode in?
No. Never, ever, ever.
It's kind of hot today, too, isn't it? Now, who's the... You didn't buy it originally, did you? No. What year did you obtain it?
About 1991.
And what made you want to put all the original stuff back on it?
Well, I just like early Fords, and the first car my wife and I had when we got married was a 1934 Ford Coupe.
It's a beautiful car. It's a showstopper. Is there anything special you could tell me about the car?
Basically, besides its original, it's one of the top cars in the country. It's won all the national awards.
That was going to be my question.
And it's probably one of the top cars in its class in the country.
Beautiful. Is this your first time at the Woodridge Car Show?
This is actually their second time, but this is the first time that I've been here. So.
Oh, that's neat. Well, we're having a great day, and maybe Bill can come on in and ask some more questions. I don't know.
Well, a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, probably one of the most important things about this car, come up with it here, Peggy, let me explain this to you. Chuck, if you would, come all the way down here on the hubcap and see if you can show that to the audience. You'll have to nod your head if that looks like V8 on camera. Do you see, does it look that way? Now take a look in here. This is the famous Ford flathead V8. This is really what put America into V8s. And what I mean by that is V8 became the most popular engine configuration literally in all time of America, basically because of the way it sounded. It had a unique rumble to it. And it began in 1932. 1932 Ford, the 1932 Ford was the first one that came with the flathead Ford V8. And this one, I believe, is 2 years, this is a 34?
34.
And by the way, did I hear it right from over there? You did all the work yourself?
Yes.
The paint?
All except the finish color.
How about the interior?
That I didn't do the interior. That was a kit that I purchased, then we put the interior in.
Do you do this sort of thing for a living?
No, just a hobby.
Wow, this is, folks, again, you've got to come to these car shows in person. You really can't really appreciate this car unless you were here. It looks like it just rolled off the assembly line, and it's hard to believe that a guy that doesn't do this for a living was able to complete a project like this and have it end up looking like this. It's beautiful.
Many summer car shows feature disc jockeys playing music. The Woodridge Car Show was no exception. These guys did a terrific job and worked with us all day.
Well, we've got entertainment out here today, folks, but these guys are going to be nice enough to turn the music down for us.
Hey, no problem. No problem.
Thank you. Okay, we've all heard the slogan, baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie. Today we've got Buicks, Fords, and now Chevys. Let's talk to a few of the owners. And you are, sir?
Ed Mazer,
And you're from?
Riverside, Illinois.
And can you tell me a little bit about your car today?
It's a 1972 Chevy Super Sport. It's a 454, 4-speed car, factory air, power windows.
Now, I've been dying to ask this question all day. Why a car show on the 4th of July?
Well, it's all part of the gentleman that put it on, Frank, and it's to do with the seatbelt safety.
Hold it, stop the music. I got an answer to that question. Don't run away, Karen. Chuck, come over here with the camera. She wants to know why a car show on the 4th of July. What better thing could you do with your family? It's all families at these summer car shows. This stuff is great. Go right ahead.
Okay, continue on.
It was to do with seatbelt awareness and to get people out. 4th of July, it's a great day. Great weather today. It's been a great day for this, and just a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. Now, Bill, why don't you come in here? I know you've got some technical questions to ask about this car.
No, you're not quite done yet. You got another guy there. Don't run away.
Oh, excuse me, folks. Now, let's take a walk down here and meet this gentleman. And you are, sir?
I'm Jim Vicala.
And you're from?
Lamont.
And Vicala, if I remember correctly, the name on the license plate?
Yeah, that's my last name, and so we put the plates on it.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your car today?
It's just a stock 90 Corvette with a new 91 front end and rear end on it.
So you haven't made very many modifications to the car?
No, just that, and that's all. It's everything stock.
Pure pleasure?
Yes, exactly. Convertible, nothing like it.
Okay. Bill?
Now it's my turn. Step right on over here, and I want Officer Frank. And should we try the last name? Jackowiak? Am I saying it right? Am I close?
Jackowiak.
Jackowiak. Officer Frank, you said I couldn't get him on camera. We got him on camera. What he wanted to make sure is you apparently paint cars.
Yes, I do.
Well, boy, this is your work. That's your work.
Yeah, well, this isn't painted. This is just stock.
You did the nose and the deck.
Yeah, that's it.
It had to paint that, I'm sure.
Right.
Well, it matches, and then black, that's not always easy. And apparently you did the Chevelle also?
Yeah, the Chevelle, and that was a couple, like a year project,
Why is it that you guys, these gifted artisans that work in these garages and shops doing this magnificent work, never want to go on camera?
Just shy, I guess.
Well, there's nothing to be shy about, and you ought to get a pat on the back. Great work. Don't run away. Let me come down over here. Okay, I don't know. I couldn't hear anything from over there. Did she get the engine trans combination?
Yes, she did.
So she's done a good job.
Yes, she has.
Okay, you're not. You've got like a police shirt on, but you're not a policeman.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Arrest this guy. He's impersonating an officer.
Frank has been a good friend of mine for a long time, and I help him out here at the show, get here early and help set up and arrange a few things.
It looks like the Woodridge Police Department has a lot of car enthusiasts on it.
Yes, it does.
Okay, but because they have car enthusiasts and the Woodridge Police Department, that doesn't mean you can get away with spinning the wheels and all that. In fact, they, like me, think that those of us that are enthusiasts have an obligation not to behave that way. Come out and enjoy these shows, but guys, don't spin the tires.
Good advice, Bill. The Woodridge Police Department spent the day urging people to wear seat belts. They had license plates, keychains, even dash plaques carrying the message. Yes, they're car enthusiasts, but injuring yourself in a car isn't fun. Enough said. Now let's meet Woodridge's most prominent citizen.
Over here in the corner of the car show, we found one of the most unusual and interesting pieces on display. Unfortunately, the owner isn't here, but we found something much better than that. Will you tell the folks who you are?
Well, good afternoon. I'm Bill Murphy, the mayor of Woodridge.
This is the mayor, and these are the guys we want to make sure that we please, because without them, we can't have these great car shows. And is this something new for you, Mayor? Or
This is the third annual to have in our community, and we're fortunate to have it here.
Yeah, I mean, for you personally, are you involved in cars or kind of get dragged into it, kicking and
No,
screaming?
I just have a general interest. It's nice to come out and look at the cars and the vehicles.
Okay, it really is. And give us an idea. Obviously, my interest is in promoting this sort of thing. I love it when we've got Oak Brook Terrace does car shows, and Lyle does car shows, and Joliet does car shows, and now we've got Woodridge doing car shows. What does Woodridge get out of it?
Well, I think it's a chance for the community to come out and look at vehicles, and also at the same time learn about public safety and the emphasis in the police department in their campaign to make sure people use seat belts. So a chance to touch on some safety issues, but a chance to look at the lovely vehicles that are here.
Well, you're right, of course, and as I've said so many times on Motorsports Unlimited, the automobile is really the statement of the 20th century. Folks are going to look back a couple hundred years, and they are going to mark the progress of this century by the advancements in the automobiles, and we have kind of a chance to touch history at these car shows.
That's certainly true, and you know, we've got people not just here from Woodridge, but greater DuPage County, so they're having a chance to see it firsthand.
Well, yeah, well, I got news for you. We got a lot of people here from Chicago, too, that I've run into.
Great.
Yes, Crystal.
And I think it also gives people a chance to view the communities, too. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know Woodridge. I mean, and it's a gorgeous little community here. I mean, nestled right here.
It really is. How many people in Woodridge?
28,000, a little bit more than that.
Well, that's a pretty big town. It's much bigger than I thought it was. And you intend to continue these things each year?
Oh, we hope to have it on an annual event. Absolutely.
Okay, folks, you heard it from the mayor every year.
We'll mark our calendar for next year later. Right now, we've got more cars to look at.
Well, if you think that car shows are just for hot rods and just for people with muscle cars and all that, you've got another thing coming. As a matter of fact, we've got a representative here from the Chicagoland Sports Car Club, and you are?
Laura.
Laura what?
Perry.
Where are you from, Laura?
I'm from Bartlett.
Okay, and you are a member of the Chicagoland Sports Car Club?
Yes, I am.
And our audience is going to remember that John Papke, one of the guys that works on our crew, he's also a member of the Chicagoland Sports Car Club. And what you guys are here today is you guys are raffling off a car.
That's right.
And it's Susie's, and you're not Susie.
No, I'm not. I'm Susie's sister.
Well, easy enough for you to go ahead and step out here and say, yeah, go ahead and take my car. But we should say that there are a lot of things that go on at these local car shows, including a sports car club that's doing a fundraiser. Have I got that right?
That's right.
Okay, can I put you to work for a second?
Sure.
Step right on out here. Let the audience have one look at this great car, which I would very much like to be the winner of. And if you would, take over and look at our camera. And I'd like you to say,
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
You thought it was
easy. Now, let's turn our attention to a beautiful street rod from Tenley Park.
Well, I'm not sure what kind of a car this is, but let me tell you, with a color like this and such a hot rod, but I'm going to get all that information right now. Can you tell me what your name is?
My name is Tom Sadecki from Tinley Park, Illinois.
Okay, and you are?
Jeanette Sadecki from Tinley Park.
Okay, and you are?
Laura Sadecki from Tinley Park.
We're all from Tinley Park. Okay, this car is just absolutely gorgeous, but I haven't got a clue. Go ahead.
It's a 37 Club Coupe, which is a 5-window coupe with a back seat. They only made a limited number of these in 37, and the color's tropical peach.
Well, the color, and again, I can't say enough, there is just nothing on that TV can produce that makes this color. So, did you do all the work yourself?
Not all of it, no. A gentleman by the name of Tom McCarthy in Pennsylvania finished the car, but it's an all-original steel body car. There's no fiberglass or reproduction parts on it at all.
That's incredible. Bill, come on in here and ask all your technical things.
Well, technical things, nothing. First of all, the girls just dragged me over here. When they see a pink car, they said, that'll go with our costumes, and we've got to make sure that we do that one. In addition to that, there's something particularly unusual about this car. This is an all-steel car. We're very used to now seeing fiberglass replicas. This is an all-steel 1937 Ford Coupe, and coupe, and I hope, what I'm trying to get out, I hope we didn't chop up a real nice original car to make a hot rod out of it.
No, it was found in a barn in Pennsylvania. The original owner still had it in a barn with a blown up flathead V8. So Tom McCarthy in Pennsylvania found this car and street rodded it from there. It's got the original frame. Those are the original seats, just reupholstered in gray tweed, and it still has the original gas tank in the car.
And what engine do you have in it?
It's a 350, 300 horse Chevy with a turbo 350 trans and a 4 to 8 inch rear end.
And by the way, for those of you that don't think cars have a fashion sort of a thing, they do. This is very fashionable now. If you notice that the running boards are all molded in, painted the same color as the rest of the car is, and if you look, you can't really see it in the camera shot, but pieces of the engine are also painted the same color of the car. So that is the new fashion in hot rodding, is to have the kind of a monotone paint.
Right. The bottom of the car is just as clean as the top because they did do a body frame off restoration when they built the car. It only has 3,000 miles on it since it was built last January.
Do you get to drive it?
No, not yet.
How about you?
No.
Do you want to?
No.
No, not yet? Because Dad would kill you if something happened to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyhow, great car, and you're from Tinley Park, and I want to know, I've often identified Tinley Park as sort of the capital of street riding. What's going on out there in Tinley Park?
Well, not much this weekend, but usually Friday night, tomorrow night is a big rod run down in Downers Grove for street machines and all kind of other hot cars.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys enjoy this car.
Yes. Yes, we liked it.
Okay, great. Now, can I put you to work for a second? Okay, I understand. Now, I know that she's familiar with the program. They told me that before we came out here, that she's seen this done every week, so I want the audience to have one more look at this great car. I'll let you look over at our camera. I'd like you to say,
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Let's move to a more modern street rod. Join me as I learn about a pro street Pontiac. Bill tells me there's something technically interesting about this car. It's a Pontiac engine. We're going to find out about it. Hi, sir. What is your name?
Rich Antonacci.
And where are you from?
Naperville, Illinois.
Can you tell me about this technically interesting car?
It's a 1963 Pontiac Le Mans, and it's been pro-streeted. The whole drivetrain, everything's been modified from what it was originally. It was a 4-cylinder with a transaxle. So now it has a Pontiac 455 with a Turbo 400 automatic, and it's got the Pro Street rear half in the back.
Now, I just learned about the tubbing. Bill, right before the interview, was explaining to us about the tubbing. Was that easy to do or pretty hard?
It's involved because you've got to cut the whole back half of the floor out in order to accommodate new frame rails to fit the big tires and so forth in there. So it's a little bit involved.
Now, did you do the work yourself?
I did most of it except for the painting, and I did have a chassis shop do the rear half of the car, and the rest of it I did as far as the wiring and the motor and all that stuff.
So involved. So, Bill, we're going to bring him in and get the rest of the good stuff.
Peggy, what I was trying to get you to say on the opening.
Did I say it wrong?
Yes. That the thing that's most technically interesting about this car is that it's got a Pontiac motor, and you were supposed to say, but I don't see what's so unusual about that because it's a Pontiac. We'll find out. The question is, how come not a big block Chevy like every other one they build?
Because I tell my buddies with their street rods that they've got cars that are like belly button cars. Everybody's got one with a small block Chevy motor in it.
So you're an original thinker.
I like Pontiac motors, and I have for quite a long time, so I like to stay with the Pontiac drivetrain.
Exactly, but you must admit, quite unique.
It is. It's more expensive to do. The parts are not as readily available, but that's what makes it fun, finding the Pontiac